afternoon, and welcome back to History Happens. As you all know, I'm Isabella, your host through the annals of recorded history and beyond. Time to introduce our next guest. She was born in 15, gave birth to the great Emperor Nero, and was eventually ordered to be killed by her own son. Ouch. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Agrippina the Younger! Agrippina, how are you doing?
Fine.
Alrighty then, let's cut straight to the questions. First, tell us a little bit about your childhood.
Well, my mother was the infamous Agrippina the Elder. My father was a general named Germanicus, and he died when I was 4 years old. It was quite hard on me. I really was a fragile child. Not long after that, my mother and older brother were banished by the Emperor Tiberius, who really didn't like my father. By this time, I was already married to a horrible man named Gnaeus Domitius Ahenobarbus. I hated him, even though he fathered my only child.
Wow, that must have been a rough start. So tell us a little about your brother, Caligula. He became emperor in 37, didn't he?
Yes, he did. When I was pregnant with Nero, he gave my sisters and I the status of honorary Vestal virgins. He was definitely an odd fellow. He banished me and my sisters in 39 because I became the lover of my dead sister's husband Lepidus, who was involved in a plot to overthrow Caligula. Of course, I didn't know anything about the plot. I was completely in the dark.
Caligula does seem like a rather interesting fellow. So, after Lepidus, you ended up marrying your uncle, the Emperor Claudius. Why did you do this? Was it a shock to many people?
I did it because I wanted my son Nero to be great in every way. I knew he was destined to become emperor, so almost everything I did after his birth was to ensure that he would rule. And in a way, it was a shock to many closed-minded people. My uncle had to change the marriage laws in 49 to allow uncles to marry their nieces so that he wouldn't be arrested for incest. Thankfully, not many uncles jumped at the chance to marry their nieces. I eventually persuaded him to adopt Nero so he could gain power and eventually become emperor himself. I wanted a lot of power, and there's nothing wrong with that. My son was the key for me.
I see. There were rumors going around at the time that Claudius's death by eating poison mushrooms was caused by you. Did you poison your uncle and husband so Nero could take the throne?
I didn't poison him. He was eating mushrooms, and they must have been the wrong kind. I honestly can't say that I was horribly sad about his death, because it did give Nero a perfect opening to seize the throne, but I did not kill him.
That's definitely a relief. So Nero took the throne, and it all looked like it was working out for you, but then Poppaea came along. Tell us about Poppaea.
Poppaea. She was Nero's mistress, and after he evicted me from his palace in 55, I felt that she was taking my place. Before doing anything too drastic, I reminded Nero of the existence of his half-brother, Britannicus, in hopes that he would let me have more power. But Nero just killed him at a dinner party. I didn't have any choice. Poppaea was obviously closer to my son than I was, and I had to do something about that. So I seduced my son. It was what I had to do.
Okay, I'm sure that was necessary. Did you realize that doing this caused huge scandals, and it led your son to believe that he had to kill you?
Obviously, I realized that eventually. The first time he tried to kill me, he wanted it to look like an accidental drowning, so he put me on a boat that was built to fall apart at sea. But of course, I knew how to swim, so I swam until a small boat picked me up and brought me back ashore.
Did you realize at once that your son wanted you dead?
At that point, of course, I wasn't stupid. I knew that I was now in real danger.
What did you do to protect yourself?
Well, there wasn't much I could do. I just hid out in my private house in Rome and waited for the inevitable. It was funny, when I was a younger woman, I consulted astrologers about Nero and was told that he would become emperor and kill me. I told them that he was welcome to kill me as long as he became emperor.
Do you regret saying this?
Not at all. He was my son and he accomplished a lot even if I wasn't there to help him. I knew at that point my life was near over anyway and there wasn't anything I could do about it.
What happened on the fateful day that you died at the metaphorical hand of your son Nero?
A freedman from his household came to my chamber and drew his sword. I pointed at my abdomen and told him to strike me there, because that was where my ungrateful son had come from. And they stabbed me many times, and I died.
What was going through your mind when the freedman entered your chamber?
All I was thinking about was Nero and how I would always love him, even after what he did to me. I never had a good relationship with anyone else in my life except for him. And even when he wanted to kill me, I knew that he still loved me and that I would always love him.
Were you scared at all?
I didn't fear death, if that's what you're asking. My only fear is that my son wouldn't continue to seize the power he so rightfully deserved.
That's very profound. Thank you for joining us today on History Happens, Agrippina. Stay tuned for after the break when we bring Nero onto the show for a reunion with his mother. The can't miss footage.